Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our 9-month adventure around the world. And it certainly is an adventure as we're in Nook, Greenland.
Nook?
Now, we were supposed to be in Nook, Greenland. Because of weather, our ship got diverted. We had to go a day early across the Atlantic. So actually, we're in our next destination, which is St. John's, Newfoundland, where we're going to become honorary Newfoundlanders. And we also get a new furry friend.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we are living that full life, going all the way around the world, taking 9 months to do it, and almost being finished with it.
Yeah.
The ultimate world cruise.
Well, we are friends, and today we're in St. John's, Newfoundland in Canada. Now, this is located in the very northeast corner of Canada. And we have got a pretty sail in once again. It's very narrow. We're just kind of squeezing through, and it's just pretty. It's like one of those that you want to be outside and watching as the lighthouse goes by, and
yeah, you can see Signal Hill on one side, which we'll reference later in the video. That's where Marconi actually received the first transatlantic radio broadcast. Yeah, it's a beautiful sail, and don't miss it if you're coming into St. John's. Well, the nice thing about St. John's is the ship does dock right downtown. I mean, literally right downtown, so you're right there. Makes it very easy to transit, to go in and out.
We got off the ship and we were greeted by some furry friends. The Newfoundland Dog Society was there with those big black furry gentle giants to greet us. And they're a sweet, sweet dog.
Yeah, a lot of the world cruisers came out, and one of the things we heard from them was, it's been 9 months since I've seen my dog or a dog, and they were just enamored, and to be greeted by a dog, a lot of the world cruisers just absolutely love that. So really glad they came out and did that.
I did too. Well, it's kind of a drizzly day. Plus, I had my hiking poles because everything was uphill.
Both ways. Well, think about it. The ship's at sea level, obviously. So every place you go is uphill from there.
That's right.
And so you leave the port and it's pretty much straight up the hill.
Well, we wanted to see the town, and the first place we came to was St. John's Anglican Church. Now, by the way, many of the churches are named St. John's.
Right, be it Anglican, Catholic, whatever, yeah.
So we went to see St. John's Anglican Church, and it's really pretty, both on the outside and on the inside.
Yeah, it is. And then just down the street from that was St. John's Catholic Basilica.
Yes. Now, this was actually built in the 18th century, back in 1841, and it was designed by Bishop Anthony Fleming.
Yeah, it was to support the Irish immigrants that had come in from Ireland, and yeah, it's really a gorgeous cathedral. They did a wonderful job with that. And there's a huge arch out in the front of it as well. Yeah, very, very beautiful. Well, from there we walked on down through some of the neighborhoods, and that's what's great about St. John's. Just the houses, they're all beautifully painted. They're all very eclectic. They all have their own personality.
You know, it's very, very clean. The doorways were so pretty. The doors are pretty. The flowers were beautiful. I mean, we're back now. We're down south a little bit more. It's actually a little bit warmer now. So we've got pretty flowers growing, and just the streets were beautiful.
Yeah, and don't forget the mailboxes. This is something very special for St. John's, Newfoundland. They paint their mailboxes to kind of look like their houses. And they're just so you can go through and see all the different mailboxes, and you can do a mailbox tour here and see all the different ones that people put together. They put a lot of pride in them, and in the restoration and maintenance of them. Yeah.
Well, it's mid-morning, and we had decided we would stop for coffee. We were with friends, and so we got our coffee at a quaint little coffee shop, sat outside, but then the rain started getting a little bit more than drizzly, so we took it inside and enjoyed a little bit of time there.
Yeah, the rain was just on and off all day.
It really was.
Yeah. Well, we left there and went to the Commissariat House. Now, this is a historical recreation or a historical house that you can go see. It was the British governor's house, or the person that was in charge from Britain here. And then it became a nursing home, it became a school, it became all kinds of different things. And so now it's a museum that you can walk through and see how people lived back in the 1700s. And yeah, it was very fascinating, very simple, and those things are always interesting to see. And you learn a little bit too as you go through them. Well, as we left the commissariat house, we just walked through the neighborhoods. We actually got to a junction where you could go up Signal Hill or down Beacon Street. And because your knees and everything, we decided to skip going up Signal Hill. We did have some friends that went up there. This is a gorgeous view. There was actually another Newfoundland dog up there that was greeting people. But yeah, great overlooks from up there. Well, as we went down Beacon Street, we came across the Terry Fox Memorial.
This was really moving. Terry Fox has a really interesting story if you haven't heard of him. I know there's movies about him, but he had lost his right leg due to cancer. But his goal was to run across Canada. So he started here in St. John's and began running. He ran 5,373 kilometers. And so basically he ran a marathon for one day, every day straight for like 143 days, and he started that on April 12th of 1980. Now, unfortunately, during the time he was running, his cancer had returned. He was in remission at the time he had started this run, but his cancer returned and he was unable to getting completely across Canada. But
and he passed away in 1981.
The next year. But it really... He really touched a lot of lives during that time, and he still continues to do so. There's a lot of motivating quotes that are all around. And one thing that he really wanted to emphasize to people is that you have the ability to do so much more than what you think you can. And I think it's very true that we can do more than we think we're capable of doing.
Yeah, it was quite moving. Well, we left the Terry Fox Memorial and started walking kind of more into the town proper. We passed, at least it says St. John's smallest rose garden. I think it's probably the smallest rose garden in the world. It's right here by the fence. And that was kind of cute to see that as we walked on in. And then we walked down to the port area. And this is where it's very famous. There's a couple of Newfoundland dog statues here in the port area. And you really enjoyed those and got to pose with those a little bit with one of our friends as well. And from there, straight up from the port area is the War Memorial, and they just finished refurbishing this and putting it all together. So there was a lot of celebration with that going on, the anniversary of that memorial. So a lot of people were there. We went by that. Well, we left the War Memorial and went ahead and decided we'd walk through town. Eventually, we're going to find some lunch, so we're looking for that as well. But we came across a really eclectic store.
All right, called the Tickled Trunk. And while I'm here, I did get a Christmas ornament. I got a little puffin because there's a lot of puffins up here. They look sort of like a penguin, really.
Yep. In fact, we had some friends that while we're walking around town, they were out on a puffing viewing experience or something. Yeah, so they were out looking for puffins. Unfortunately, right now, it wasn't really puffin season, and so I think they struggled a little bit with seeing them. But yeah, that's very famous here is the puffins.
Well, as we're walking through town to go to lunch, here we're noticing there's a lot of restaurants, a lot of bars. It seems, and they're all closed.
Yeah.
And so it seems
and
like
they look so interesting
this area,
too.
would have a really good nightlife. We're thinking it'd be nice if we could have an overnight here.
Yeah, we've heard that so many times on the World Cruise that we see these places that look like they'd be wonderful, and we're like, well, we got to leave at 5 o'clock,
So we're meeting friends today at a restaurant called Jack Astor's. And so
don't say that too fast.
It's kind of an eclectic, interesting little place.
Sports bar.
A lot of things on the walls and all. So we met friends here, and this is when some unusual text messages started coming in.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting because we've had changes in the cruise before, but we hadn't really got text messages from Royal Caribbean. And so we were getting text messages, and then suddenly emails come in, and then the WhatsApp chats that we have with all our friends start kicking in, and it's saying, we're not leaving St. John's. We're going to stay here tonight. We're like, well, this is really odd. We didn't hear anything about this. What's going on? So we went ahead and finished our lunch. And we had another appointment, but we kept this in mind. But after lunch, we had a very specific time to go get Screeched-In. This is one of the most famous things here in St. John's. There's a ceremony you can go through to become honorary Newfoundlanders. Now, remember what we said. We actually got to St. John's a day earlier than we were originally supposed to because of the storm that was in the North Atlantic. We skipped New Greenland. Well, we originally were going to do this Screeched-In ceremony tomorrow, but they backed us up one day here in St. John's. So I had actually sent a note to Christian's Pub, which is the most famous for doing the Screeched-In ceremony, and said, hey, is there any way you can back us up one day because we're being rerouted, our ship's only there one day and all this. And they were wonderful. He actually added an extra time, an extra Screeched-In ceremony, and brought us all in to do it, and it was almost all world cruisers. So that was really neat that we could go do that. And so as I'm talking here, you can see some of the scenes from Christian's Pub. It was quite the ceremony. You have to eat some meat from Newfoundland, which is kind of like Spam. You have to take a shot of Screech rum, and you have to kiss a fish. And you did a good job kissing the fish.
Well, thank you. It was also really fun because the bartender there, oh my goodness, he told stories, but he also asked us all of our names and where we were from. And later he went back and recited everyone's name. I think
pointed at him and said everybody's name.
Maybe he missed one, but honestly, what happened?
Stranded world travelers. Leslie! Leslie, Jean, Doug, Roy, Terry, Mike, Nancy, Lisa, Carolyn.
What do you think? There were 40 people in there?
Yeah.
50 people in there?
Yeah, he did a great job.
And he went back and just went name after name after name. And it was a fun experience, and it was something I would highly recommend.
Oh, yeah. If you go to St. John's, do not miss getting Screeched-In at Christian's Pub. And just as we said, make sure you make reservations. We'll put a link in the description to where you can go and find out how to get there. But it does fill up, and there are limited slots available. So make sure that you go get that done. It is one of those experiences you don't want to miss. Well, we left Christian's Pub, and we're like, okay, we got to get back to the ship because all aboard was actually in about an hour, the original all aboard. And even though we'd gotten these text messages and everybody in the pub was like, oh, are we staying overnight? What's going on?
Yeah,
we don't know.
There's a lot of chitter chatter about it, but we're not far from the ship. It's an easy walk.
Yeah. So we go down to the ship, we get on. First thing, we talk to our friends there, the security officers on the ship, and we say, are we staying? And they're like, yep, you get it overnight. We're not pulling out because what they found out, there's really bad weather, and if we'd have pulled out, we'd have got smacked right with it. So the safest thing for the ship to do is just stay in port, and then we're going to leave bright and early in the morning.
So that meant we could go out to dinner,
yes,
which was really nice. So we kind of warmed up on the ship a bit and freshened up, and then we were out the door once again with our friends. We were heading to some of that main street area where there were so many bars and restaurants.
And the first place we went was, okay, we covered the youngins' ears, but it was the Dildo Brewing Company. And yes, it's named actually after the owner. So it's...
Wouldn't you love having that name?
Yes. And so they have a big gift shop. They play off that name. They've got t-shirts and all kinds of things. And so you can go in and have a good laugh. And we did. Well, after the brewing company there, I'm not repeating the name again. We went to the Wooden Walls Distillery. So that was a lot of fun. They didn't have any tours or anything open like that, but it was really quiet in there, so our little group got a lot of attention from the owner and one of the bartenders. We just sat and chatted, and they made us all special cocktails.
Well, while they were finishing their drinks, one of the girls and I, who both like to sew and do crafts, things like that, there was a quilt shop right next door, so we walked over to that and poked our head in, and it was nice to see all the fabrics. They had this huge whale that was a patchwork whale right up front, and it was just fun. Didn't get anything, but I sure liked walking around there. And then following that, we walked the streets a little bit more, and then we went into a place called the Celtic Hearth, and this is where we had dinner. And we had fish cheeks, of all things. It's a fatty part of the cod fish, and it was good. It was a little bit on the greasy side, but
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah,
Fish cheeks were good.
And they're very famous here in St. John. So if you do go to St. John's, be sure to try fish cheeks. Well, after that, we went ahead, just wandered the streets. We hit a couple more little pubs and just enjoyed, being off the ship at night. That's always a real treat for us. But then we headed back to the ship, and we needed to get some rest because the ship is going to leave bright and early, and we wanted to make sure we got the sail away.
It was pretty going out as it was coming back in.
Yeah, and obviously that bad weather had blown past. It's sunny now, and everything's looking really good.
It was really nice. We have a couple of sea days, and so there's always fun things to do. They always have things planned on the sea days. And they had brought someone in to teach painting classes. So they've done this a couple of times. If you remember back in Japan, they had someone come in that was teaching origami. Well, this time they brought in a couple of ladies to teach painting, and it's kind of like those classes you might go to in the United States that are kind of a wine and paint type place. And so we would all meet in the pub. You had to sign up. And I actually took several classes. So here's one that I did. And then during a couple other classes that they had, it's pretty easy because she's painting right along with us, and she says, put your green here and do the lines there, and did a pretty one.
You're very talented.
So I think I'll put them up in the garage.
Well, we've done a few of these that are like wine and paint things.
Yeah.
And it's, they're a lot of fun, and they did it in the pub. So it kind of was a wine and paint kind of thing.
It really was. But yeah, some of the girls and I did that, and we had a good time. Another fun event that they had is they had a headline show from an Olympic athlete, an Olympic gymnast, Lance Ringnauld. And he was really good. He was very athletic, and he was fun, and so you can see part of his show here.
Yeah, that was really cute.
Enjoyed that. But, well, we're going to Halifax though tomorrow.
Yeah, so this is a bonus port. Originally, the ship was not scheduled to go to Halifax, but as we mentioned, there's a lot of rerouting going on here because we had to leave early from Greenland. Miss Nook got to St. John's early. Well, we have a scheduled time to get into New York, so they've got to actually fill the time in. So we get a bonus port, which is Halifax.
And what was really special here in Halifax that you're not going to want to miss is they had a huge dahlia festival going on. And
What's a dahlia?
They're some of my favorite flowers. I just love them. Oh my goodness, I took so many pictures of flowers here, and this was a real treat for me.
Yep, and not only that, I got a treat too. The hot dog challenge continues.
That's good.
And this time we found another Korean corn dog location, and this one was much better than the last one. It's pretty good. You're not going to want to miss that as well.
All right, friends, we will see you very soon. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.